The morning sun shone gently on the polished glass windows of the towering corporate building. Outside, a small group of young men stood together, dressed in their cleanest shirts, shined shoes, and nervous hopes. Today, one of them would leave this place with a job, a very bright future ahead of him. Inside an office, a receptionist guided them to a modest waiting area. Leather chairs. White walls. A soft hum of air conditioning. The kind of place where futures are quietly decided. At first, the silence between them lingered, thick with anticipation. Then one of them, a tall, confident man with a shiny belt buckle, spoke. His name is Tand. He asked, "So, anyone else here got a degree from Unilag? First class honors?" His voice had the smoothness of someone used to drawing attention. The others looked up, surprised. Then chuckled. One of them, who goes by the name Chuka, replied, "Not Unilag. I finished from ABU. Second class upper. Computer science." A third one, who goes by the name Joseph, added, "I'm more on the business side. Diploma in human resources. But I've worked, interned, at 3 places already." They each began to relax, their words bouncing like marbles in a bowl, competitive, but polite. Then, quietly, a young woman entered the room with a tray. She wore a company apron over a plain dress and simple sandals. Her eyes stayed down. She moved from one man to another, placing cups of tea carefully on the table. Tan barely nodded. He only stared at the little opening at the top of her dress as she bent forward to place the cup of tea on his side of the table. Joseph gave a polite, "Thanks." Chuka looked at her and smiled, warmly. He then said, "Thank you, sister. That smells good." The tea server paused just a moment, looked at him, smiled, then nodded slightly and moved on. With warm cups now in their hands, the conversation shifted a little bit. Joseph was the first to talk as he asked, "So if any of you gets the job, what is the first thing you will do?" Tan replied, "I will surely first of all change that dusty office they will give to me. I will then request for a swivel chair and some real speakers. I like to work with music." Chuka said, "I will prefer to start by getting to know how the system work here, generally by consulting the people already working here. And that includes the person who brings the tea." They all chuckled. But only Chuka's eyes followed the tea server as she exited the room. He seems to already have some interest in her somehow. As soon as she left, Tand leaned toward Joseph and whispered, "She does not look like someone who finished school. Imagine spending your day carrying trays. Anyway, she looks good enough for some small aim, now. If I get this job, I won't mind trying to take her out to some cool joints to catch some fun, Joseph replies, "Do not talk about people in that manner. You do not even know who is yet. Nobody knows tomorrow." Chuka looked at them, then down at his tea. He said nothing. He simply picked up the cup of tea and took a sip quietly while trying to concentrate on his mission here in the first place. At the right time, their names were called one after the other to go into the proper venue of the interview. They disappeared behind the frosted glass door. Some emerged 10 minutes later, confident. 1 or 2 looked unsure. While they were all gone for the interview, the tea server returned quietly. On the chair where Chuka had sat, a phone was found left behind. She picked it up and looked toward the hallway. At about the same time, a senior manager came out of an office and approached her. He then noticed that she was holding a phone in her hand. He asked, "Is that his?" She nodded and replied, "Yes, it is." The manager then said, "Thank you. You may go now. Miss Amina, they'll be waiting for you in the boardroom. You're next." She smiled, gently, removed the apron, and straightened her dress. She then walked confidently toward the interview room. Hours passed. The interviews ended. Then, Unexpectedly, all 4 candidates were called back into the boardroom. The CEO herself was waiting there. A poised woman in a sharp white suit, her expression unreadable. The CEO then went on to address them as follows: "Good afternoon, gentlemen. Before we begin, I want to thank you for coming. We've reviewed your resumes and watched your interviews. But more importantly, we observed your character." The young men shifted in their seats. The CEO then continued, "You see, this company has cameras in every corner. Not for security, well, not just for security, but to also study people present in the various parts of the building and what they do and say. How they behave when they think no one is watching. The only exceptions are the toilets, of course." The CEO then pressed a button on her table. A video began to play on the wall behind her. It showed when the tea server entered the waiting room. The footage zoomed in. Tan barely looked at her. Joseph was polite, but dismissive. As for Chuka, he had smiled, thanked her, and even noticed her discomfort. Then came the whispered moment, Tan mocking her, Joseph smirking, and Amina pausing, then walking away silently. The CEO then went on to say, "What you men didn't know is that the young lady you mocked was not just a tea server. That was Miss Amina Sool, a candidate, just like you. She simply volunteered to serve tea, because I asked her to do so." Tan's mouth fell slightly open. Joseph looked stunned. Chuka just smiled faintly, as if it all made sense now. The CEO then added, "This company is not just hiring for skill. We are hiring for character. For humility. For awareness. For emotional intelligence. Mr. Chuka, congratulations. The position is yours. You saw more than others did. You treated every person here with respect, not just the ones you thought mattered." Chuka's eyes widened. He stood slowly, overcome with quiet gratitude. The others left in silence. Some bitter. Some wiser. Outside, the sun was still warm. But inside that boardroom, something brighter had shone. Respect. Discernment. And the kind of integrity that no resume can show. Because in the end, your real interview begins when you think no one is watching. We honestly hope you enjoyed the story we brought to you today and must have learned 1 or 2 lessons from it. Please do us a favor by leaving comments below regarding what you think about this video and what other types of content you think we should produce on this channel for your consumption. You should also encourage us by liking, sharing and subscribing to this channel before leaving. Thanks for visiting the Myths and Stories from Africa channel.